Welcome to the Cubras.com podcast, a show for Afro-Cuban and Afro-Brazilian musicians and fans. Hosted by Afro-Cuban percussionist Jesus Diaz. The Cubras podcast is sponsored by CongaMasterclass.com, featuring Jesus Diaz and Michael Spiro. SambaMasterclass.com with Georgie Alabe, and Cubras.com, Afro-Cuban and Afro-Brazilian music instruction on the web.
Hi everybody, Jesus Diaz here for Cubras.com podcast. This is our very first time doing this, so please be patient with us as we will try to iron this and get better at it as we go on. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me introduce you to Steve. Steve will be the person who will be keeping everybody in check around here and fixing everything. So if you have any complaint, make sure that you get in contact with him and let him know. Say hello, Steve.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, if you do have any complaints, but better yet, any suggestions, comments, give them back to us. You can reach us at cubrasonline@gmail.com. cubrasonline@gmail.com. Also check out the Facebook page, and we have one set up for cubras.com, also CongaMasterclass.com, and SambaMasterclass.com. There's really no point in doing a show without your interaction, your feedback, and please don't be shy about it. Give us a hit back and let us know what's going on. The show can be really amazing, but if it's just Jesus and I, not so amazing without you. So back to you, Jesus.
Yeah, so really, this really has the potential of becoming a very great show with a lot of information that we have to share for you, both from CongaMasterclass.com and Cubras.com. You can check out videos from all kind of different artists, like, for example, David Garibaldi. We also have
Los Terrys,
as well as Bon Bon.
An amazing drummer. Bon Bon.
We have Ignacio Berroa.
Yep, we just got done shooting him. He's going to be doing a little bit of teaching on Cubras.com, but also we got him a great interview that Mike Spiro did for Conga Masterclass as well.
Right, and we also have Murray Lowe covering
Afro-Cuban piano. For sure. And then a great guy, Brian Rice, is doing Pandeiro on Cubras.com. Just an amazing collection of people.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that you also have the Samba Masterclass.com, right, with Georgie Alabe.
Georgie Alabe is an amazing percussionist from Brazil who breaks down all the different aspects of Brazilian drumming, including pagode, escola de samba, and also candomblé, the religious drumming of Brazil as well.
Yeah, so throughout this extensive thing that we're going to be doing this podcast, we hope to be sharing a lot of information with you guys, and please keep in mind that we do need the feedback so that we can get better at it. So as Steve mentioned earlier, we can't do it ourselves, so we need you guys to get back and let us know what you think of what we're doing, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can.
For sure. So Jesus, what's on tap for segment 1?
Well, not long ago we had the opportunity to interview one of the great masters, drum set players here in the U.S. and probably all over the world, Mr. David Garibaldi.
David is the drummer for Tower of Power.
Yes, he's the drummer for Tower of Power for many, many years. And actually, Mike Spiro and I had an opportunity to work with him for many, many years on a project that we put together called Talking Drums.
People still talk about talking drums. Yeah. I mean, on the websites we get requests all the time, like how do you find the books, or whatever.
Right. And it took us many years to put the project together, many hours in Spiro's garage, putting the piece together. And what's really great about that was that we were not getting together to jam. We were getting together to have composition based on drum set and percussion. So we actually wrote out tunes and stuff.
Oh, really? Yeah. So there's all the tunes were like had form, and you played through the tune, and
exactly
right.
So it was just like playing in a band,
right?
Except it was only drums and percussion. But anyway, that was really great. And so we had the opportunity to interview him now.
Right.
He took the time of his busy schedule to come and join us on the website, and we had a really fun time interviewing him and playing with him.
Very good. And here's the interview with part one with Dave Garibaldi.
Hi, everybody. What a treat to get the three of us together again after probably at least a decade. A lot of memories for us, and a lot of wonderful opportunities that we had together. And Jesus and I thought it would be fun to something I don't think Jesus and I ever really did in the past was to get a chance to talk to David about kind of how he ended up really coming across us and intersecting with us. And so we thought it would be really great to have a chance to talk to David and ask him some questions. Questions that I certainly am curious about, not only from a personal standpoint, but also from a sort of a musical history standpoint. I don't want to ask you the old, so when did you first start, that, but what I would like to ask is, what got you thinking about, for lack of a better way to put it, I guess, displacing things from your basic sort of 2-4 kind of R&B thing? What was it what was the impetus to make you go, well, yeah, okay, fine, but what if I...
Well, when I was in school, college, the teacher used to have these little exercises that with the drummers that we would do, where we would play something on the snare drum, and then one guy would play something else, kind of answering, and then we would kind of like permutate it some way, change it around, switch voices, switch parts. And that's kind of where I rhythmically sort of like got the idea for all that permutation, displacement sort of thing. And then I just eventually ended up applying it to the drum set.
So, I mean, just from a
but
sort of...
one thing that inspired it, though, was listening to Latin music and discovering that there's no 2-4 in it, but there's this groove, and that intrigued me. So I tried to, put those sort of sounds and things on the drum set, not with any knowledge, just experimenting, just trying things I heard,
So, I mean, not to sort of be too, memory lane-ish about it, but like what was sort of your first, I'm not playing 2-4, but I'm still playing funk, but I'm displacing, like what, I'm assuming this is pre-Tower.
It really developed in Tower. That's where it really started to develop. It was just a concept before that.
Yeah. And is there a tune that you would say, this was one of our first tunes that really, I realized that I could put that in a tune and make it work within not just sort of a cool beat, in quotes, but actually within the song itself?
There were like several things. And we did that Oakland Stroke, song. That was kind of one of the first. And then actually I think the very first one was the one called Soul Vaccination. That was the very first one where we did a whole tune where there was no 2-4 in it, and we discovered that it would work.
And were they in on the joke with you? I mean, was this overt with the whole band, or just kind of you and Rocco doing stuff and not telling anybody?
Well, Emilio would sort of let me do whatever I wanted to do and let me come up with things. So there were no restrictions as to what I could come up with. He wouldn't say, he'd sort of give me a little guideline and then he'd just let me go.
Okay, so...
But we didn't know anything. I mean, we were just, we were all experimenting. There was nothing, no one guiding us,
Well, okay, so play us, again, this is not just from sort of a memory lane, but also more from the mind of Garibaldi.
Yes.
Like, give us here would be the way most people would play maybe this beat, and then I took it over here. Can you give us a playing example? I mean, not necessarily literally Soul Vaccination, or literally Oakland Stroke, but how you might have morphed from A to B to C.
I don't know how to describe that, because it was really things would just come up like creatively, So there was no really kind of like A, B, C thing that happened, It was all just kind of like we would jam, just like we did with the three of us.
Yeah.
Jesus would say, well, why don't you try this, and then we would like invent something.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like that. There was no pre-thought sort of a deal. I didn't, we'd come up with these songs. Like Emilio, when we did the Serious Side tune, he came in and he sang the bass line, dee-dum, bump, bump, dee-dum, bump, bump. So that's all he had was that bass line. So he said, okay, what would you do to that? So I had 2, 3. Like so.
Now, here's the interesting thing for me. By the way, Happy New Year, everybody. We're filming this on January 3rd, 2011. And just last week, the Tower played in Oakland, and I took my family. And so they played that tune. And the minute you started to play, my son, who's you've seen him a lot on the site with Jesus and myself, the minute you went there, we both looked at each other and started playing clave. Well, because, play it again, count everybody in
2,
if you would.
3.
So, and we didn't do it, it wasn't planned, it's just, but we both hear we hear clave in what you play. So it's interesting you say, well, I was sort of listening to Latin music without necessarily knowing what it was per se, but that it was somehow in your consciousness, and then you're coming up with this beat that, clave is the first thing that my son and I hear. So I think that it's interesting how much of the way that you were playing had clave in it without you necessarily knowing that that's what it was called or whatever. But that I think that's also what made it possible for our group to even exist.
Right.
That where you were coming from kind of had that. So that was a beat that was really inspired by what Mimi came in and sang to you.
Exactly.
Would that be true for most of the songs?
They always start with some sort of, well, there was a few that were, I guess, beats,
Okay, so when you first started hanging out with me and Jesus, were you bringing were you trying to just be strictly Latin, or were you always trying to bring your knowledge with you?
I just wanted to know about it when I went to see you guys. I met you,
Yeah.
and then I went to see you play. We were at the Caribbean Dance Center in downtown Oakland, and you guys were playing with Waya Khan. And you said to him, "Who's that guy staring at me on the stage?" Because I was there watching you guys play.
Right.
I remember that really well.
And then that's how we met, and then we started, getting together. But initially, I wanted somebody to teach me about this music, and everybody kept telling me about Michael. So that was the first thing that I did was, when I moved back to the Bay Area, looking around for somebody who could really explain the music to me. I met Michael, and then he introduced me to you, and then we started playing together, and
And here we are.
here we are.
Okay, well, let me come at it from another side. If someone said to you, okay, what's a rhythm that you play, or a beat, or whatever you want to call it, that's right in between what you learned from Jesus and myself versus what the kind of stuff you were already doing? Is there like a sort of a...
Yeah, there is. There's a song that we did on an album in 2003, and the song is called Pocket Full of Soul. And it's like it's really a shuffle, basically a shuffle, but I played it like 6/8. So the song basically is da 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 da, right? So I played 2, 3. directly a result of what
Of us
we
building
were
the
doing.
fences together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So normally a straight shuffle suddenly then becomes this hybrid, if you will.
Yeah.
What about in a duple thing? Is there something that you would say, here's something I've been playing, with the band that's like a kind of right in between the two worlds?
It's all the lines are really blurred to me, because I mean, when I'm playing some of these things, I'm thinking of a lot of things when the ideas come, you know. So I think sometimes of like things that we did together, and parts come from that. I mean, from all sorts of different, different places. I mean, it's hard to say how it comes. It's just, when you're inspiration, you draw from this and draw from that. But certainly things that we did, there's some similarities, and I was able to understand, I think, what you guys showed me because of what I had already put together. I had the 16th note thing going, and it was just like placement, like after that,
So let me.
Here's one that we used to do, like this. 2, 3, 4. So that's very like Tower-ish, I do a lot of things similar to that, like with Tower that have a similar feel and are constructed in a similar way.
Then let me go back to before, not literally, okay, before you, I mean, I grew up on R&B. I don't remember that much 16th note stuff. I remember it being more 8th note. Is there a thing that got you thinking, I'm gonna?
Well, it was all the James Brown stuff.
It was all JB stuff.
There was Gregor Rico was Sly and the Family Stone, the James Brown stuff. It was all like 16th note oriented. It was all there, So, and then all we did with Tower, we just created with it, using the 16th notes and triplets and kind of creating within the style, making up kind of our own music inspired by all of that, right? And it just kind of, ended up like.
But we still go back to JB as the godfather of that feel. Yeah,
and then listening to Ray Barretto, that was the first thing that kind of like got me interested in seeing that I could play grooves that had no 2 and 4, but would work. But listening to that, because it was like just that salsa music, was Orestes playing timbales, and hearing is how funky it was, and then I would just make up beats based on the things that I was hearing from that.
I got a question for you because, like the whole Tower of Power, the Oakland groove and all that is way before my time. When I came from Cuba in the early 80s, that had already kind of happened. So what would you say, because I always wanted to ask you this question, I never did, what would you say was the groove that created the Tower sound that became the signature, this is the Oakland funk? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wasn't like wasn't a beat per se, as it was the way that we played the music. It was like a lot of 16th notes, and sort of we would just create, weird grooves and just try them and see if they worked. And it all ended up, being kind of almost like an East Bay style of music, kind of,
Okay, play. I mean, I suppose it's embarrassing to ask this because I supposedly should know it, but play me what you play for. You got the Funkifies.
Now?
Yeah. This very minute.
See, basic part.
That's pretty funky.
Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Garibaldi, it's one of the most amazing drummers that I ever had the honor of playing with.
Pretty generous.
Yeah.
He's very sincere and very generous guy.
And it's very nice for him to take the time to come down
Right.
and share some other information
Right.
with us. If you're interested in some of the material, you can still, get the books and the videos online. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. You just type in "Talking Drums" and they'll pop right up.
Right, and also he was generous enough to record some of those grooves. You can come to our website, congamasterclass.com, and check out some of the videos, and you can watch him break down what he does.
Yeah, so there's some grooves, and actually one of the tunes you guys recreated. And we'll do part 2 of the interview on podcast number 2 coming up when we wind up releasing that. So look forward to that as well. I think, Jesus, you wanted to bring up, kind of another segment of the podcast will be a tip for each podcast, and one that was related to your work with Garibaldi, or the interview with Garibaldi. But then also, when you're playing in a band, do you have any suggestions for people as far as when you're playing in a band like that?
I do, but for example, in this case with Garibaldi, check out how important it is to lock in with the bass player and have that unity with him, because in most bands that's really the way it comes down to, like the drum set player and the bass player really interlocking with each other, and they do using a lot of influence from Latin music, especially from Afro-Cuban music, and the rest of the band doesn't even need to know that that's what they're doing, but they do what they do, and that's what makes it work.
Right. Yeah. So you could be kind of, as a bass player and the drummer, you're behind the scenes. I mean, literally, you're back in the back of the band, and hopefully you're not causing too much trouble. And
but they're the foundation,
right,
to everything that's being built around them. So I think that's a very good tip.
Right.
So as a drum set player, make sure that whoever you're performing with and whichever setup or group that you're with, make sure that you always keep that communication with the bass player, because it is extremely important to have that nice foundation. You can't build a house before you put the foundation on underneath.
Yeah, something that just came to my mind is how you even set up. Is a lot of times a band will set up and the bass player won't even be looking at the drummer, and there you are, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
You just had the bass player turn towards you as the drummer, and you can actually establish some good communication that way.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week, and we're so looking forward to getting the second one out, and we'll do part 2 of the Dave Garibaldi interview. Also interviews from Los Terrys, Bonbon, Ignacio Baroa, Mike Spiro. I'll even get a chance, I think, to interview Jesus Diaz at some point and get a little bit of insight into him. It might take us a couple of times because he's had a very interesting career even so far. So stay tuned for our next release. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, follow us on the Facebook page, and look for us on Twitter as well. We're tweeting. You might not even know that, but occasionally we get a nice tweet out. Thanks.